Welcome to Conversations. I'm Muqtedar Khan, your host. And today I'm going to share with you some data that has been published by the Pew Study Center. They do research on religion and politics a lot. They also look at opinion polls about views that people all over the world have about various things. So there are a lot of interesting surveys that are produced by Pew. It's one of my favorite research organizations. I worked with them on a couple of projects in the past. So I do respect the meticulousness with which they approach their task. I don't like the fact that their global studies and surveys are extremely skewed in favor of the West, but I think it's more because of the ease of conducting surveys in Western developed countries as opposed to in other parts of the world. So when they say global study, it usually has about 24 countries, of which 10 are European countries. And so it's not exactly representative of the world's population. But nevertheless, they did publish a study which I found very interesting, and I'm going to talk about that. They look at the demographic shifts in religions from 2010 to 2020, and they have some very interesting findings. I wanted to share that with you. But before that, if you have not already subscribed to the channel, do subscribe to Conversations, like this video, press the bell icon, and don't forget to share this video with your socio-political network, and also consider becoming a member of Conversation. One of the advantages of becoming a member of Conversation is that you get to participate in a monthly Zoom conference with me, where I've got a lot of useful feedback from viewers who are members, and I have even taken their suggestions, not only on improving the show, but also on various topics that they would like me to cover. Anyway, so here is the first chart that I would like to share with you, in which it says that Christian population. So the basic findings, let me just share that with you. There are 3 or 4 big findings that from this study. Number one, that Christianity is in decline in terms of percentage share of the world's population. So there's a significant decline, roughly about 2% since in the last 10 years. That's one observation that comes out. The number 2, that Islam is the fastest growing religion in the world, and it has grown roughly by the same percentage amount. So Christianity has declined by 1.8% in the last 10 years. That is its share of the world's population. And Islam's share of the world's population has actually grown by 1.8%. Then the share of those who identify as not belonging to any organized religion. So these are not necessarily people who are atheists or agnostic. They are spiritual, they believe in a God, but they do not subscribe to any particular organized religion. And so that is expanding significantly. But that category also includes those who are atheists. So the total that has grown very fast, and that has now reached, it is the 3rd biggest, you could say, religious identification, that they don't belong to any religion. Hinduism and and Judaism have remained more or less at the same levels, but there has been a decline in Buddhists, both in terms of their share of the population and also their numbers. So here you can see that here are the numbers. The number of Christians in the world are 2.3 billion, and they have grown by 121 million in the last 10 years. Most of the growth is, as I'll show you, in Africa. Muslims are about 2 billion, and they have grown by 346 million. So Muslims have grown it's the largest growth in terms of both percentage as well as absolute numbers. Those who are religiously unaffiliated have grown by 270. They are nearly 2 billion themselves. A large number of them actually come from China. China is a country of about 1.44 billion people, and 1.3 billion people sort of identify as in this particular category. There are 1.2 billion Hindus, and they have grown by 126 million in the last 10 years. So the more Hindus than Christians have been added to the world's population in the last 10 years, or rather from 2010 to 2020. Buddhists have declined by about 18.6 million. So as I was saying, that they have declined in actually in absolute numbers as well as in percentages. Jews have grown by about 900,000, and other religions have also grown by about 18 million. So we are talking about Sikhism, Jainism, and other religious groups. Here is some more information. You can see that most of the growth of Christianity is in sub-Saharan Africa. So share of the world's Christians living in each region. So in the last 10 years, Europe was, in 2010, Europe was the biggest Christian region in the world. It had 25.8% of Christians, but now it has become third biggest, 22.3. And then Africa, sub-Saharan Africa has the largest percentage of Christians. 30% of Christians live now in sub-Saharan Africa. Latin America has retained its second position. And then below that, Asia Pacific and North America. So there are more Christians now in Asia Pacific than North America. So there are two shifts, continental shifts, you could say, that have taken place. Middle East remains the place where Christians are less than 0.5% or about 0.5%. But this number, this particular chart that I'm showing now, shows that there are at least 120 countries and territories where Christians are in majority. So roughly 59.7% of all places in the world, Christians are in majority, followed by Muslims who are in majority in over 26.4% of the world. So if you look at it, in 120 places, Christians are in majority and Muslims are in only 53 countries. I think that number has changed in the last 2 or 3 years, because Nigeria has gone from being a Christian majority country to a Muslim majority country. So it's probably 119 and 54 in 2025. As you can see, the study basically covers only from 2010 to 2020, but nevertheless, you can say that Christianity is in 60% of the countries, is in majority, Islam in 26%. So between Christians and Muslims, 87% of the world is either Christian or Muslim, at least in terms of 87% of the places they are in majority. Religiously unaffiliated are in 10 different countries. I find that fascinating. China is the biggest of them. Buddhists are in majority in 7 countries, Hindus in 2, that is India and Nepal. Jews, obviously, 1, and other religions in 1. I don't know which religion is that, where people from none of these religions are in majority. I'll have to figure that out. This is some data about Muslims. Muslims are the fastest growing religion. They have been so for the last 20, 30, 40 years. So in 2010, Muslims constituted 23.9% of the world's population. Now they are, in 2020, they became 25.6%. I think they have increased even more so. The next biggest growth rate that you see is in religiously unaffiliated. They have gone from 23.3 to 24.2. So about roughly 1%, the share of the world's population has increased by 1%, Muslims by 1.8%. But the decline that you see is among Buddhists and Christians. Everything else has remained more or less the same for the last 10 years, or those 10 years. Buddhists have declined by roughly 0.8%, and in real numbers, in terms of 19 million, 18.6 million. Christians have declined in the share. It is 1.8% lesser share. They went from 30.6 to 28.8. But in real numbers, they have also grown by 126%. Here you can see a pie chart that shows the populations. Muslims are 25.6, Christians 28.8, the biggest religion. Hindus are about 14.9%, and religiously unaffiliated are 24.2. And then Buddhists are 4.1% of the world's population. So this is how the world is was in 2020, I guess. It took them 4 years, I guess, to write the report. Otherwise, they could have updated the data to 2025. Anyway, so this is the distribution of world's population. I have one more chart that I want to share with you, which says that the fertility rates by religion. And so globally, Islam's fertility rate is about 2.6%, 2.7, 2.8%. But in India, the green column that you see shows that Muslim population in India, the growth rate is about 2.4%. which is very interesting because Indian Muslims are extremely poor compared to the rest of the Muslims in worldwide. So even though they are, I guess, poorer, they seem to at least show some of the characteristics of more developed countries with lower fertility rates. Christian religion, it is globally 2.5, 2.6%. In India, it's below replacement rate, which is 2.1. So they are about 1.8% is the growth rate of Christianity in India. And Hinduism's growth rate is globally 2.1 at replacement, but in India it is below replacement rates at 1.8. So I guess Hindus who live in diaspora have more children, and those who live in Nepal and Mauritius, I think, have more children than Hindus who live in India, which I found was a very interesting uh, uh, observation to make. So basically, to summarize this report, you could say the organized religion is losing ground broadly because the segment of those who identify themselves as unaffiliated to any particular religion, even though they are spiritual and believe in God, is growing fast. The only religion which is growing faster than them is Islam. So Islam continues to hold its position as the fastest growing religion on planet Earth. And then the biggest loss is Christianity, which, even though it's growing because of the high growth rates in Africa, it is declining in terms of its share of the global population. And I think most of the people who are part of the unaffiliated, besides the Chinese population of 1.3, is mostly the growth is coming mostly from Western countries or Christian countries, because China's population is also in decline. Its birth rate is around 1.6, so, or 1.01. So it's in a very steep decline. Its fertility rates are. So the share of Chinese as part of the unaffiliated will decrease as their population declines. So basically, these are the findings that Buddhism is reducing in sheer numbers. Uh, Unaffiliated are growing. Islam is growing. Christianity is growing, but only in Africa primarily, and its share of the global market share of religion is declining. So I hope you found this informative and interesting. So please don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like this video, press the bell icon, and share this video with your socio-political network. Until next time, I'm your host, Muqtedar Khan. Take care.